All right. Thank you to everyone for joining this evening. So we have a great presentation for you today. So first we're going to go over some of the details of the program, and then we'll have a panel, and then we'll open it up for questions. But feel free to ask questions throughout. So there's a question answering functionality, and we'll get to those as it makes sense, or if not before the end, then at the end of the panel. All right, so let me first introduce myself. So I'm Professor Peter Story. I joined Clark actually just this year. I earned my PhD from Carnegie Mellon, and my research area is usable security and privacy. So I'm just starting up my research program, but I have a couple of students who are planning to work with me this summer, and I'm really enjoying my time at Clark. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Jack Rogerson. He's a current junior, and he's been involved in running a lot of events for us. So I think you'll enjoy his presentation. All right, Jack.
Thank you very much. So hi, everyone. Jack Rogerson, as Professor Story said, junior at Clark, and I'm going to be giving you a little walkthrough of what the program is like at Clark, and then be happy to answer some questions at the end. So to get us started, I'm sure a bunch of you know, given you're here today, but computer science, it's a very hot industry right now. As the slide here says, basically everything is becoming a branch in some way, shape, or form of computer science. So it's a great field to get into. It's a great field to grow with as we see it evolve over the next couple years and decades. So if you actually take a look at Glassdoor, computer science basically owns the top 12 spots of Glassdoor right now. So again, just really a great industry to get in, a lot of high-paying jobs, bunch of opportunities out there. When we look at what computer science has done in society, there's a lot of great and really amazing news stories that are coming out of what computers are enabling people to do. And at Clark, we really feel like we'll be able to allow you, as you study computer science, to make interdisciplinary connections, come up with a lot of new and innovative ways where computer science can be applied in many great new topics. So why should you join computer science at Clark? Well, I'll go through a couple of these right now, and we'll dive into it more as we get further on in the presentation. But to start with, the computer science program at Clark, it's very flexible in allowing for participants to get a double major. So basically, we have a set series of courses which you are required to take as part of the computer science major, and it tends to work pretty well with students who wish to get double majors or minors or things of that nature while they're also at their time at Clark. We have a bunch of exciting introductory courses which we're able to offer to students. That way you can get in, you can see a whole bunch of programs and sides of computer science, decide what you like, decide what you're interested in. We have a bunch of dedicated, well-known faculty who also do research around the university and in their topics of computer science. We're always happy to work with students, get them involved in their work. So that's really a great asset that we have in the department. We have multiple active student clubs that allow students to participate in computer science topics and curriculums inside and outside of the classroom. We'll talk a little bit about that more as we get into some of the panelists too. There's a bunch of on-campus employment opportunities that students have the opportunity to participate in, as well as participate in quite a bit actually at Clark. We have students who work for the ITS service, the Information Technology Service on campus, and we have a bunch of students who also work with various aspects of the department, teaching assistants, system administrators, things of that nature. We have a lot of opportunities for students to get involved with research with faculty, as well as the overall liberal arts education that Clark has to offer is a really great complement to computer science. At Clark, we have the PLS requirements, which will basically show you a bunch of different areas of the world, so to speak, in terms of your education. And it really opens the door and shows you a lot of ways that you can apply computer science to all of these different interdisciplinary areas. We have exceptional student success, which we can show a little bit more as well. And as we kind of mentioned before, we are one of the highest paying majors, so that's always a plus. Some of the exciting opportunities that we do have on campus that our students get to participate in, to just kind of go down this list and name a couple, a lot of our students have the opportunity to work for the department as teaching assistants. So this is not something that typically undergrads are actually able to do at university. So it's really a great asset that we're able to offer these opportunities to students, and it really is able to offer the students the chance to reinforce topics, learn how to explain computer science topics. It's great for getting you to learn how to explain things and work in computer science outside of the classroom environment, so to speak. As I said before, we have the opportunity for students to do research. We have students who are doing great research around the department, including analyzing YouTube data, looking at societal computing, things of that nature. As I mentioned before briefly, the ITS help desk, they love to employ computer science students there. Our students fulfill a lot of roles with ITS, from basic help desk, helping people connect to the internet, troubleshooting when applications don't work, when things go wrong, all the way up through more technical positions with ITS, including Linux system administrators. We have our computer science students who work with ITS, and they actually maintain and administer the on-campus learning management system. So a lot of great opportunities to get out there and apply what you're doing in the classroom in some work on the campus. Academic Technology Services, that's another branch of ITS that I was always happy to have students come in and work with their clients for enabling technology in the classrooms. Specifically with the department, we offer the opportunity for students to serve as system administrators for our own Linux system. This gets students in, it shows them how to work with these systems, maintain them, update them, as well as working on the client side and interfacing with professors and students that need to spin up and start various services. We have other components of the experience at Clark, such as LEAP grants, hackathons, and conferences, which are also great ways for students to get involved both inside and outside of the classroom. A lot of these come with rewards and/or grants, and people are always happy to have students on board for participating in these hackathons, research, and conferences. Overall, the computer science community at Clark, it's a very supportive one, and it really both the faculty and the students, your colleague students, want to really see everyone succeed. Students are very supportive. They're always happy to work with each other, support each other as we all work through our computer science education. We're a very active department that is always happy to host events, bring alumni back to the campus to have presentations, things of that nature. So there's a really strong sense of community in this department, and I have no doubt it's very beneficial for everybody involved. We have a number of student clubs, and to talk a little bit about what they do, we have Clark TIE, which is the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship, the Clark Competitive Computing Club, and the ACM chapter at Clark, to name a couple. These clubs are really involved in getting students to apply computer science concepts outside of the classroom. TIE is hosting the first ever hackathon at Clark University, which is actually concluding tomorrow. So we'll see a bunch of the great projects that students have been working on and applying the skills they're learning in the classroom in fun, exciting projects that they're producing right now. We have a couple different clubs which organize a bunch of interview prep style activity on campus. So as crazy as it sounds, when you're applying for jobs in computer science, there's still, you may still have to write code on a chalkboard or a whiteboard. So we have clubs which are out there and want to really get students comfortable with that, support them. That's a process that a lot of students partake in. They follow through with that throughout their time at Clark. These are just a couple screenshots and pictures of some of our recent activities that we've had. So really just a great community of students who are happy to participate in these club organizations and events outside, which really, it makes the Clark computer science experience just that more valuable when you're able to be involved with all of these different aspects of the degree. So to quickly go through some of the professors at Clark and some of their research interests, we'll show there's a very wide range of specialties at Clark who are, and the professors are always happy to work with the students to further their research in those specialties. So to name a couple of them, we have Professor Ken Basie for speech recognition. We have theory of computation with Professor Green. We have data science with Professor Hahn, distributed systems with Professor Holness, computer vision with Professor McGee, social computing with Professor New, network security with Professor Femi, full stack development with Professor Story, software engineering with Professor Catalan, just to name a couple of some of our specialties. In terms of the academic program at Clark, I'll give a quick breakdown of actually how the major works and what are the requirements as you travel through your journey here. So to start off, computer science, it has two introductory courses, which is going to be CS 120 and CS 121. Typically, if you come in and you know you want to do computer science, you would take both of those courses in your first year. CS 120 is typically where students enter, and it assumes no prior programming experience. So we start from the ground up, building the foundation for your computer science education. That's typically a course that's taught in Python, but like I said, any prior experience is not required. If anything, it'll just make the first couple weeks a little easier for you. Then students move to CS 121, which is the data structures course at Clark. That typically switches to students over to Java, and it focuses on really how we store things in computers, how do we set up correct data structures, efficient data structures, and learn how to apply those in algorithms. We have basically 3 math courses which are required as part of computer science. The first 2 of those are going to be Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. At Clark, that's going to be Math 120 and 121. And the third math course is essentially the math foundations of computer science. This can be accomplished with Computer Science 122, which is discrete structure, and or Math 114, which is discrete mathematics. Okay. In terms of the core courses that are required to complete the major, those come from our series of courses, which I'll show in the next slide, but it basically gives you a little bit of a peek into all of the aspects of computer science that I'd like to say start from the bottom of the stack and work them way up. We cover topics as close as we get to the physics and electrical engineering side of things, looking at assembly language, how computers are laid out, how the memory systems work, how the CPU systems work, and we get all the way up through what is the limit of computers, what are things that we can actually solve with algorithms and applications of computer science, and what are things that we know and can actually prove are not solvable. That is finished up with 4 elective courses, which I'll show in the next slide, which really offers students the opportunity to get in, work on what they want to specialize in computer science, or just generally speaking, get a well-rounded CS education in a bunch of different areas. If you're interested in a computer science minor, we also offer that, which is going to be a total of 6 courses. This follows the general same sequence where you're going to come in, you're going to take the 2 introductory computer science courses, 120 and 121, as well as 1 plus core courses, and then 1 plus 200 level courses in the department. We also do offer a data science major and minor, as well as a concentration in business analytics. So here's a brief selection of some of the courses that we offer at Clark. To just quickly go through them, we have a lot of new and exciting courses that are showing up on this list, courses that specialize in different areas of computer science. One of the new courses, which is going to be offered next semester, which is going to be taught by Professor Story, is Introduction to Societal Computing. To name a couple of other courses on here, we have courses that revolve around the core fundamentals of algorithms and data structures and programming, such as data structures, algorithms. We also have courses which go over a lot of topics which students decide to go into after their time at Clark. We have artificial intelligence, software engineering, computer networks, and we also have courses which allow you to get hands-on experience with designing applications, implementing systems, things of that nature, Internet of Things, robotics and intelligence systems, operating systems, and database management. Some of the great outcomes that we have from our students at Clark, we have a lot of students who are able to get fantastic internships and jobs and full-time positions at some of the companies listed above. We get people into all the great tech companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook. We also have students who will move on and continue their computer science education at the graduate level at some of these great schools listed below: Boston University, Carnegie Mellon, and Yale, to name a few. Just to give you a brief look into what we're going to be offering next semester. It's not a comprehensive list, but it just gives you a quick idea. We have the intro computer science courses, which are now offered every semester, as well as some of the higher computer science courses and electives, such as mobile software development, robotics, and intelligence systems. So really, it's a great department to come into. You can stay active, always be doing classes that you're interested in. It's really great. This is an exciting one as well. The joke the previous week, if you were on the campus, you could actually see the construction for this going on right now. But I'll fill that in here. So we're going to be getting a new building, which is going to be opening in fall of 2023, which is going to be the new home of the computer science department and a couple other departments at Clark University, including the Becker School of Design and Technology. So we're really excited about this. This building is going to offer us the opportunity to have a whole bunch of new great technology spaces and hands-on labs where you'll really be able to apply your knowledge, your learning in the classroom in hands-on and standard lecture ways. Just to quickly name a couple student projects that we've had come through the past here, and then we can learn more about other projects that students are working on the panel. We have a lot of students who choose to work on research, which can across disciplines. We have great students who do research in areas like physics and biology and apply computer science to those, as well as computer science specific research, including theory of computation, what can we compute, what can we not compute, things like that. We have students who do interdisciplinary work as well, including some of the software engineering projects which we had at Clark, including the microgrid project here, which I believe you can see my cursor scrolling around on the screen. We have a bunch of students who have come through this lab and actually designed and created these systems that are running the grid technologies here, running the web applications that are driving this system. We have a bunch of students who choose to participate in open source projects, whether it be projects they contribute to or projects that they've started and have continued to work on. The Etro.js is a project that we've had a current Clark student working on for 3 years. He started that as first year at Clark as an open source video editing framework and has been working on it ever since. So really some great projects coming out of Clark as well. And of course, as always, the ITS and department administrators showing students a little piece of what it is like to get out and work in the industry. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Professor Story and we can get into some of the panel components here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. That was great. So next we're going to have a panel and we'll have each of the students introduce themselves. So we'll have Jack, of course, and then we also have Dalasha, Joshua, and Ava. So in no particular order, please introduce yourselves.
I'll go real quick, I guess, just because I was just going. I'm Jack Rogerson, a junior computer science major here at Clark. And the one piece I didn't mention earlier is this upcoming summer, I will be interning at NASDAQ.
I can go. Hi, everyone. My name is Dalasha, and I'm a senior here at Clark, majoring in computer science with a minor in management. During my time here at Clark, I've had the opportunity to serve as the president for TIE, which is a student-run club on campus. It stands for Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship, as Jack said earlier. And once I graduate, which is very soon, in a month, I will be joining LinkedIn as a product manager.
I can go. My name is Joshua. I am a junior here at Clark University. I'm going to be interning at Google this summer. I interned there last summer as well. I'm also a part of TIE. I'm part of the e-board. I also play on the men's tennis team as well.
And hi, I'm Ava. I'm a senior and I'm studying computer science, and I have a minor, or getting my minor in data science. I primarily do research in human-computer interaction, and I've been doing it for the last 2 years. I also started, I've TA'd quite a bit starting my sophomore year. And after Clark, I'm going to be joining a PhD program in computer science at University of Minnesota.
Very good. So let's see. In terms of the panel, Jack, how has things worked well in the past? Should I ask some questions, or how do you find it works well?
We can go through a couple quick questions, and then as always, if any other participants in the Zoom have any questions, I believe the chat feature should allow you to, oh yeah, I see some of them coming in here. Yeah, if you have questions, please feel free, throw them into the chat. If not, we'll start with a couple of our introductory questions here. I believe, as a quick side note, Professor Story, I think we may need to let the others in as co-hosts so they can turn their video on.
Oh, thank you. All right, here we go.
let's try that. Thank you.
Let's see. Is everyone able to turn your video on? Oh, there we go. Did I miss anyone? I don't think so. Perfect. All right. Here we go. So we've got a first question from Peter Shapiro. How do you plan to integrate Becker into the CS program? So that's a good question. So there's definitely going to be a lot of independence between the programs. So like as part of Becker joining, they're not going to be sort of consumed by Clark. They're going to maintain their individuality, and they have a lot of unique things that work really well for them. So like a lot of project-based software development, like game development from the beginning of their program to the end. And so that's all that sort of cool, distinctive stuff is definitely going to stay. But definitely there can be some integration. Like I have a number of students in my data structures class who are in the Becker program. And so they're doing well in my class. And then I imagine that some Clark students in the CS program may also want to participate in or take some of those classes from the Becker School. And another opportunity for working together is they have these like game jams. And so they work on a project over a weekend, and everyone has a different role. And then at the end, you have some sort of game you've created. And they've told me they're very excited about having the CS students join them because they always need more programmers. They have a lot of artists and asset makers, but having more programmers would be a big help to them. So hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions? Okay, so in that case, I have a question for the panelists. So what has been a class project that you really remember and that you're proud of?
Oh, I'll start it off. So way back when in CS 120, one of the really exciting projects I had the opportunity to work on, I actually implemented with my team a command line interface Yahtzee. So we were able to play a full game of Yahtzee through the command line interface, which allowed multiplayer functionality and a whole bunch of other little components which we sprinkled in there. But again, teamwork in my first computer science course at Clark.
That's awesome. Anyone else? Any cool projects? If it's not a like class project, it can be something you did outside of a class, like research or something like that.
Okay, I was struggling to think of a class project because time just hasn't felt real lately, the pandemic. But speaking of the pandemic, a project that I really enjoyed doing here was a project looking at the YouTube space during COVID, and with Professor New, it's like a social computing project. We used computational methods with the mix of like psychology theories to look at what types of videos people were posting and what kind of community outreach was happening to improve loneliness and bolster like just a feeling of community and social connection during the pandemic. And that was really fun and really easy to get involved with too. I just started a conversation with a professor and we started working on a project.
Nice, that's great. Anyone else? Well, here's
Just
another
along the
question.
same lines, I can speak a bit very quickly about my research project as well. I'm also doing a research with Professor New. I actually also started it with just a conversation with my professor about how addicting TikTok is. And he said, hey, we could do research about this. And so now we're researching how user interfaces like TikTok for video sharing platforms like TikTok and YouTube, how their UI and UX affects the information consumption by the users. So that's something exciting that I'm working on currently.
Nice. And for Ava and Dalasha, when did you work on these projects? Was it during the semester or the summer?
I started during the semester junior year. So it's been 2 years.
And I started right when COVID hit the US. So like the beginning, or yeah, I think the beginning of spring semester of my sophomore year, and then continued it throughout the summer. And that's when we, at the end of the summer, we wrapped up the paper for that project and submitted to a conference and everything.
Very cool.
I would say like, yeah, I mean, I don't think I have maybe like one specific project, but I'm currently in web development class. And so I think like we do like projects every week. And so I think like it's probably one of the first classes that like the project I'm actually like looking forward to doing. And so I think like it's just like working on, you know, like creating websites, and like over time, every project adds like more functionality and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, that's probably like the coolest project I've worked on so far is the web development project.
Very nice. All right. So outside of like academia and research, what are some fun things that happen at Clark?
So Clark, there's a lot of fun things that happen. I think for me, like starting this year, I try to be more involved in stuff. So I joined like one of the dance teams at Clark. I also play on a sports team. And then we had like Gala recently, which is like the biggest like dance event at Clark. So I was part of that as well. So I think like there's a lot of stuff that happened, especially like as the semester is coming to a close. It seems like there's a lot of like more stuff that's going on. So I think there's like different things you can do. There's like sports clubs. There's actual like teams that you can walk on. Like I walked onto the tennis team in the fall. And yeah, like there's like a whole bunch of things like if you want to do, you can like find people who like are interested in the same thing to do.
Looks like we're getting a couple questions through both the chat interface as well as the question and answer interface. So just wanted to make sure that all of the panelists could see those coming through.
Ah, there we go. My Zoom interface was glitching. Here we go. So let's see. Will we be able to the recording be available? Yes. And so let me make a note. I'll have that sent out to everyone. Yep, we're recording it. And here we go. Is it easy for students to engage in extracurricular activities? How easy is it for students to do research with their professors? Let's see. I think we've covered that pretty well.
There's one about Clark compared to a technical institute from Michael, if we want to go with that one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of a difficult question to answer because everyone, unless someone has transferred from a school, it's hard to speak to both. I'll just say that I went to a liberal arts undergrad and I enjoyed taking like a large diversity of different courses, not just technical stuff. And I felt well prepared for grad school at Carnegie Mellon, which is a great grad school. So I think that maybe sometimes by focusing too much on just the technical, you don't see the big picture as much. And so a liberal arts school will help you see the big picture, and then you can make sure that you're working on research that you think is going to have a good impact on the world, instead of just doing something because you can do it. Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. And from the student perspective on it too, we get people in all of the same institution or same jobs and graduate institutions that people that go to strictly technical institutes also get. So I like that point of where it's kind of the best of both worlds, where you get the well-rounded liberal arts education, as well as you're also doing the quote unquote hardcore technical skills that you really will be expected to get, and that could get at a technical institute. You can get it right here at Clark. So I think the opportunity to get those hardcore tech skills that you need, as well as also having the chance to participate in some student clubs, which may show you like musical theater or beekeeping or something like that, is a great aspect of Clark, as well as showing you a lot of interdisciplinary connections. I really think that's one of the great things that Clark has shown. And there's a big emphasis right now on computer science is basically involved in everything in some way. So it's the future of where the world is going and how we're all going to work. And it's definitely you see a pattern of computers through a lot of what the institution is doing right now.
So let's see another question. This question is, how much experience do you get working on software development as a team? Do we get exposure to agile development, project management, version control, etc.? So it's funny because I just lectured on Git today in one of the intro classes, CS 121. But maybe others can comment on other courses where they've practiced this kind of skills.
I can speak to that. I actually took a class last year called Software Engineering, I think. Yeah, I think that's the name, where we did all sorts of stuff relating to the topics you mentioned. We had a semester-long project where we actually grouped up and worked towards a final project towards the end. We had lots of exposure to agile development, the different types of version control, and it was quite independent at the same time. So we had to, as the students, really work towards using those standards that are practiced in like everyday software engineering in industry, and come out with something substantial at the end. And it was challenging and a lot of fun, and I definitely learned a lot from that class.
Here's another question. Are there any CS majors who spend most of their time on coding?
I can take that if unless anyone else is wanting to speak on it right away. All right. So I think we see all types at Clark from the student perspective. We see the students who are really just passionate about coding and want to produce games. They want to produce applications. They want to make their full stack app. They want to make a open source project and deploy it out there and try and make some money off another project or something like that. So we see that side of the house where people are very passionate about working on projects all the time. We also see the side of the house where people are interested in some of the other aspects of college, club sports, whether it be team or at the university level. We see people who choose to spend some time participating in clubs, doing challenges and projects through the clubs, as well as hosting, say, like events where alumni come in and talk. So we see a lot of it. But to directly answer the question, I'd say that we definitely do have people at Clark who do spend a lot of time coding, whether it be by themselves on a personal project, or whether it be with a group of people that may have been formed, say, within a club, or just naturally across the campus. I think a big component of that is, like we've said, we're a really close and tight community in the computer science department. So you're able to find a lot of your peers who really like to get involved with every aspect of the degree in that sense.
Here's another question. What level of programming knowledge do you recommend that people come into the program with? So I would say you don't need any programming knowledge, but the more you have when you come in, the easier the first year will be. So if you feel like you have a lot of programming knowledge, then that's of course gonna make the intro courses a little easier. If you don't, then the intro course may be more challenging. And so for people who are maybe concerned they don't have a lot of like programming knowledge to begin with, you can definitely start off taking 120. You may have to work pretty hard, but if you're afraid of that kind of learning curve, I'm offering the CS 103. It's the Introduction to Societal Computing. And it's a good way to work on some of the core course requirements. So it's like the what's it called? The PLS requirement, the diversity and inclusion requirement, and also to learn a lot of the programming skills. So then by the time you take CS 120, you'll know the concepts already and you'll just be applying them in a different language. So yeah, if you're concerned about that, I think that's a good thing to consider. And here's another question. Is it possible to do a dual major with one major being a Becker program and one being a Clark program? That's a really good question. Is anyone aware of any students doing that right now?
I believe currently, based on when the Becker students joined into the program at this point, it'd be too late to actually fulfill all the requirements in the sequence to major. So in that sense, I don't think we've seen any Becker students come over to the CS side of the house and major. And basically the same way for a lot of the upperclassmen that at least I'm familiar with right now. I do know there's definitely students who are taking courses in both departments. So my general thought process would be, assuming you're coming in as a first year, I don't see why you wouldn't have the opportunity to complete both sequences of courses and finish their programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you want more details about anything, you can also email Lydia Mann in admissions. So there's her email there. And then she's able to give more details on things that we don't have everything about. So yeah, let's see, another question. How many students are in the major? That's a good question. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Does anyone by chance know?
We have right about 80 majors at the moment, and then I believe it's about 8 minors.
Cool.
That reminds me, we have a PDF of some of our fast facts, so I can get that and paste that link into the chat here as well.
It sounds like a fast fact. All right, a couple of questions in the Q&A. So as a transfer student, will it be hard to finish a CS major and data science minor in 3 years? So there is overlap between those programs. If you are transferring in with things that count towards them, it'll definitely make things easier. I would say maybe the details will make it whether it's hard or easy. So you can always look on the website at the CS course requirements, and you could even sort of map things out and try to figure out how things would fit. So I'll send a link to the course requirements here. So here's the computer science course requirements, and then I'll get the data science course requirements. I think because you're talking about a minor in data science, it probably would be possible because there is a lot of overlap. Here we go. Nice. And then here's another question. How does 3-2 engineering program influence the CS course at Clark? What is the, okay, so we'll start with the first question. A 3-2 engineering program. So is Clark's CS program part of any 3-2s? Yeah, does anyone know how that track typically goes?
I think I'm not enrolled in it, but to my knowledge, I think it's 3 years at Clark and 2 years at Columbia University. I don't know if it's just Columbia, but I know Columbia is part of it. So you take 3 years of computer science courses that's the same way that a computer science major would here at Clark, and then you have to complete that 2 years of computer science at Columbia. I know that there are other majors offered as well.
Very cool. And then another question. What is the average CGPA a student needs to enroll? So my guess is that there isn't a strict requirement. So like a better GPA increases your odds of acceptance. Like I wouldn't worry too much about an exact number. Yeah, I guess that's all I could say on that. I would say there's no downside to applying. And you probably will have a a good chance. I mean, the fact that you're attending a interest seminar shows that you are assertive enough. So I think you have a good chance. Oh, here we go. What would you describe the vibe of the CS program at Clark? More competitive or collaborative?
I can speak on this a little bit. I think like from the classes that I've been in and from like the people who I know who are in the CS department, I think we're pretty collaborative. Yeah, I think because we're not like the biggest department at Clark, we know that, and so we know that like we need to support each other, and we don't really have the size to be really competitive. Especially like in the past a couple of years, there was this senior who graduated, his name was Evan, and he like was a big part of how I got my internship, and I think he helped a lot of other students also get internships, and he even he has like a website now that like helps students get internships and stuff like that. So I think we're very like very collaborative department in terms of the students, and I think the professors are also want us to succeed, and so they also try their best to be available and to help us to do the best we can.
Here's another question. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to add to what Joshua was saying. I don't think I've ever felt like a sense of competition during the computer science major. I think I've really only felt support from other students and a large sense of collaboration. We even have like a Facebook group where we all message each other when we're stuck on some homework questions, or if we want to ask about a class that we're taking next semester. And there's so much communication between the students and the faculty because we are a small department. The faculty, as they're trying to grow the department and support us, we also want to help those efforts. So we're constantly communicating and we're giving feedback, receiving feedback. And I think that's what's really special about this department in particular.
So here's a question. How is the grading at Clark, especially in the CS department? Do you feel it's very hard to get A's, on the easy side, or in between?
I can start off, and then when someone wants to jump in and cut me off, please do so, or feel free to. I think there's a lot of it depends on, I guess, the background of the course. I think that there's probably kind of one of two sides the typical CS course kind of falls on. The side of in terms of we kind of have the courses that are more theory based and then are more practical hands-on based. And I think largely a part of that will depend on, you know, what is your preference? How do you kind of look at the world of computer science in that sense? I personally, I'm not a huge math person, so I tend to like and probably succeed better in courses that are going to have more of an emphasis on coding things out, hands-on projects, things of that nature. But that's not to say my math-loving counterparts are not out there and succeeding very well in those math and theory-based courses. I think overall the grading criteria in the department is pretty much on par with the rest of the majors and minors at Clark. There is probably less of an emphasis, I'd say, on particular like divisions of A's. I believe Clark does not have anything higher than an A, so you can't get an A plus. And there's some, I guess, logistics like that. I think that college generally tends to grade a little different than say high school, but I think the short answer to that is I think if you put the work in, I think you can succeed very well in the courses.
I think I can kind of add on to that. I think one thing that is very beneficial about Clark in general is that we're a small school. And I think for our department, we're also a small department. So I think at least like in the past, like last few semesters, there's been some classes like in terms of like the material in the class, it was definitely challenging, but I think I would have done well if it wasn't for the support of like the professors and TAs. And I think that's one thing that I didn't really take advantage of my freshman year, or at least my first semester. And so I'll say that if you do come into the department, like your professors are there to help you. And we have the benefit that because it's a small school, there's not that, like, even if everyone in the class goes to the professor, like we're maybe like 20 in like a class or something like that. So you're definitely going to get the help you want. And then there's TA hours. So if you can't get the professor, you can get the TA. And as Ava mentioned earlier, like because we're so collaborative as my CS department, like there's a group chat that people can like ask each other questions and things like that. So I think in terms of that, it's kind of up to you in the sense that you need to kind of reach out for help in a way, but also the professors also make themselves available to know that they're there if you need them.
So we have a question. Is there a lot of tutoring support available for CS classes at Clark? So for my intro class, the CS 121 data structures, we've got TA office hours on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And then I hold office hours on Thursdays, and the other professor holds office hours on Mondays and Thursdays. So there's a lot of opportunities. So if students can't find a time to come to those office hours, they must be pretty busy. There aren't office hours for every class, like some of the upper level classes, because there won't always be a student who's taken the class before. But definitely for the intro classes, there's a lot of opportunities to get help.
I would also add on to that too. The Clark also has infrastructure kind of set up to help students, particularly with the intro courses, because there's this emphasis on getting students into these intro courses. But the Academic Advising Center, I believe they go by now, they have dedicated, they're called peer mentors there, who actually specialize in computer science and are able to assist in some of the introductory courses as well, 120, 121. I was also say, just to the note that Professor Story had there about the courses that may or may not have a TA. The TAs are always very helpful when they're there, and like we were kind of saying, there's a plethora of hours that are offered, as well as the professors are very approachable outside too. So I'm in a class right now where it's actually the first time we've ever taught it on Internet of Things, and Delash is in the class as well. And the professor is very accommodating to any requests, questions. We have a Slack channel set up for the class, so there's been times where it's somehow 12:30 in the morning or at night or whatever you want to call that, and I send over a Slack message to Professor Holness and have a reply in 3 minutes. So we have there's a lot of support in a bunch of different modalities.
All right, I think we've gotten a lot of good questions. I don't see any more right now. So let's see. What are some other good questions we could do? All right, here's one. Maybe this is a question for my benefit. Maybe you all could describe to me what Spree Day is. So that was last week.
I know you all know what it is, so I don't know why I have to start on this one, but so there's 2 different Spree Days at Clark. There's Academic Spree Day, which is for like students to present projects and work on that. But the last week's Spree Day that Professor Story is referring to is it's a long Clark tradition, or long-standing Clark tradition, which has actually just been implemented back after a 2-year break because of COVID. But it's basically a day in which classes are surprise canceled. And there's a bunch of fun activities out on the green where students can perform on a concert stage or roll around on those balloon ball things and crash into each other. There's, I don't know, t-shirt making, ice cream eating, all sorts of fun college student stuff on Spree Day. I don't know, I'm sure there's other things that I'm forgetting, because it's a packed day and they get everybody out of the classroom and out there for a nice break. It's often referred to as the worst kept secret at Clark, because most of the students know it's coming up, but that's aside the point.
So your reward for attending this event is knowing about Spree Day. So don't tell anyone who didn't come to the accepted students events, and you can surprise them.
Good question, which we got at the last session, which I think is good. For the panelists, are you able to take most of your first choice classes? And are there any the add-on to that? Are there any opportunities where you've had to ask a professor to be enrolled because the capacity for a course was reached, and are they willing to do that?
I can answer this. When it comes to the CS classes, like the classes I've taken towards my major, I haven't had an issue with trying to with having to like email the professor or not being able to get into a class because it reached capacity. It might be different for larger departments, for like the psych major, that might become an issue. But I think at least in your first couple of years when you're taking those core classes, you shouldn't run into that issue. With electives, it can be harder. I think that I had to email a professor about an elective once, and they're pretty understanding. And also, as you get further into your college career, the day that you get to register becomes like a day earlier than the class before you, so you have a bit of an advantage there too.
This could be a good closing question. How would you describe the CS department at Clark in 3 words?
I'll kick it off here. I would say my 3 words would be: we're comprehensive, we're fun, and we're supportive.
I'm just going to second that. I agree.
I would describe the computer science department as a computer science department. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'm glad that everyone could join. And yeah, thank you so much for the great questions. And I'll share my email and also Lydia's email and admissions. So if you have any CS specific questions, feel free to email me or any of the panelists. And then if it's like a general Clark admissions question, you can email Lydia. So thank you again to everyone and everyone who participated as a panelist as well.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Hope to see you soon.